Creating high-quality Amazon product images has become faster and more cost-effective with ChatGPT new image generation capabilities. In this video, you will learn how to use AI to create main product images, secondary images, and infographics for your Amazon listings, including practical tips on writing effective prompts and using reference images. If you want to analyze your competitors' images and get AI-powered insights for your listings, try Data Dive with the exclusive code OrangeClick. Get 20% off, and you will find the link and more information below this video.
Hi, Anthony. Welcome again to Orange Click YouTube channel. I'm very happy and excited to have you joining me today because you're going to show how Amazon sellers could follow an image creation workflow to prepare basically product images for their product pages without basically needing an agency. And that's all thanks to the latest update of ChatGPT. Of course, you're going to dive more into it in a few minutes. But before that, could you first introduce yourself?
So, hey, everybody. My name is Anthony Cofrancesco. I've been with Data Dive and Seller Systems for a little over 3 years now. I've been in the e-com industry since 2017. I used to work for Amazon. I had an agency. I sold the agency. I worked for PickFu. And then now just helping on educational content and really anything we need over at Data Dive, Seller Systems, Camp Ecom, and our toy brand.
I feel like you're becoming one of those OGs in the Amazon space soon because you're like, your experience is growing and growing with each year we're recording these videos.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's been cool because I've gotten to work with Orange Click pretty much from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And if you're new to our Klik channel, then we do have other videos with Anthony and Data Dive on our channel, which sellers find super useful. So after watching this video, feel free to go on our channel and search for the other videos as well. But as I said before, today's main focus would be on images and also the latest update of ChatGPT, which is probably super exciting, not only for me and you, but also for the Amazon sellers.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to get into this. Can I jump in?
We can do that straight away because all we want to see and do is to learn from you so we could implement everything at home as well.
Okay, so look, everyone, if you're watching this video, this is basically what I've been waiting for from the beginning of when I got into the Amazon space. I could see where things were going. Um, I cannot underestimate, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say what ChatGPT 4.0 is an absolute game changer. And you might have heard this before with generative AI, but for real, it has arrived. And this tool is finally something that you can really, really use. So I'm going to share some slides today and show you just how powerful this is. And I'm curious to hear if you find, let us know in the comments below if you find and see the potential of where this is going. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can use ChatGPT 4.0, the new image model for CTR and CVR optimization. And if you saw the videos that I recorded previously on the Orange Click channel about CTR and CVR optimization, this is the perfect addition to that because in those workflows, you are really just concepting images. Now this tool gives you the power to create these images. And so just for reference, a few notes before we get started. I think you're going to find this to be pretty helpful. I was at Kevin King's $1 Billion Seller Summit. This was back in 2022. And I gave a presentation that was very early on in talking about Dolly. This is a tool from OpenAI that allowed you to generatively create images. And you can see on the left-hand side, it wasn't perfect. You know, we've got some messed up faces here. The product is a cooler. I'm trying to show it on a beach with 2 kids. You can see we've got a messed up arm, a big lump in the back. It wasn't perfect, but when I was at that presentation, I said, hey, if you are crafty enough with your prompts, you can get usable images. You just had to do things like, for example, tell the models to be facing away, and you could actually get a pretty usable shot. AI, from a generative image standpoint, for the last few years has always been like that. It was like you could generate things that were usable, but there was always an asterisk next to it, or like you had to be creative. It didn't really give you exactly what you want, or you still had to take it to a designer to get it to a level that would be acceptable for Amazon. Obviously, we've come a long way with just being able to create just images of people, of scenes, of situations. But up until recently, ChatGPT really couldn't make, or Midjourney really couldn't do anything with text, complex infographics. It couldn't just figure any of that out. And so this is the time that I feel, for the first time in the history of generative AI, that you can actually get a full blown image that's pretty much ready to put up on your Amazon listing, and it works almost perfectly out of the box within a few revisions. So that's kind of the intro. We all know how far we've come in terms of generative AI, right? We don't get messed up faces anymore. Now we get beautiful images. You can build these beautiful scenes. Also, are some limitations. So, number one is ChatGPT 4.0 is very slow. So, it's going to take a minute to a minute and a half for each image to generate. But this is really easy to overcome. What I realized is you can just have multiple tasks rendering images simultaneously, and if you put them all under a project folder, it helps you keep things really well organized. So you just create a project, have multiple subtasks, and you can be rendering like 3 or 4 images all at the same time. So despite, I'm saying ChatGPT is slow, but from a relative standpoint, it's not any comparison between how fast it is versus a designer making these images manually. And so I wanted to give everyone a real world comparison and show you what I was able to do in my first about 2.5, 3 hours, my very first time using the tool. And then I'm going to benchmark that against everything that you're going to see is what our designer was able to do in a 60-hour case study. So if you've seen that previous example with the kids' binoculars, our team, our best designer, Matthias, spent 60 hours creating main images, secondary images, A+ content, branding, a little bit of packaging, pretty much everything for the listing. And I'm going to show you what I was able to create in just a few minutes using ChatGPT. And this was all over, like I said, a period of about 2.5, 3 hours. Now, I love our design team. They are next level good. And I'll show you some of the things they created with ChatGPT. I was talking with our creative director, Natasha, last week on the phone, and she's like, Anthony, for the first time, I'm a little bit nervous about this. Like, I haven't been nervous up until this point, but now I'm nervous. And I said, Natasha, there's going to be two types of people. There's going to be the designers that say, this is all garbage and this is bad and this is not ethical, and they're going to fight this. And then there's going to be the other group that is like, okay, this is powerful, but it's got to change the way we work. And I said, you are not in that first group. Her team has been integrating AI. They've been using pretty much all of the images that are made for Brandon's products. None of them are done with photography anymore for the past year. And she's been building out branding kits. She's been training the team on this. I said, you are not in group one. Okay. What I will say, though, is agencies and designers are not going away, but this will absolutely change the way that they work. And it's going to change the standard for what is accepted and what is just the standard for what we deliver for creative projects. And I'll cover that a little bit in the end. A few more notes. Sometimes GPT is going to get stuck. So if you ever see that the image is loading for more than a minute, just type into the chat, why isn't this starting? And then it'll usually kick it back off. This is something that I learned that is really important. ChatGPT 4.0 is going to get confused when your threads get too long or you're trying to create too many different types of images all in the same thread. So here's a really good example. I wanted to create an image that was talking about our binoculars company. While it's not manufactured in the US, we're an American-owned company and it's designed in Austin, Texas. And I wanted employees wearing the company shirt in front of a factory that had some patriotic themes. So the image looks pretty good, but what's happening here is it's pulling in some other elements from a magnification graphic that you're going to see a little bit later. And so you can see the further down you get into a thread, if you give too many reference images, you're going to start getting weird things like this finger hanging out here, the birds in different sides of the lens. And so what I recommend is breaking separate image concepts into separate threads and limit the number of reference images that you're giving to ChatGPT. I'll show you some more examples of this. One of the things that I really like about 4.0 versus Midjourney is how conversational ChatGPT is. So we just did a workshop in Prague. We didn't use ChatGPT. We really just used Midjourney the entire time. What I don't like about Midjourney is you have to use the editing tool, you have to highlight the area, describe what you want. With ChatGPT, you're just talking to it very normally. So this is a graphic that's supposed to be about durability. And I'm just suggesting, what if we put shockproof under the left side and water absorbent under the right? I don't have to highlight anything. I just describe what I want here and it renders a new version of the image. Okay, I think this is the last tip on here, and then I'll show you some of the assets that I created. So in the beginning, when I was using this ChatGPT, it straight up told me that it was not allowed to generate photorealistic images of really anyone, but especially children. Like, it could not make you real looking children. It could make them cartoons. Um, what I was later told by our design team is that what you need to do is give the prompt context. So I was trying to get creative. I was like, what if I get a photo of my niece? Her name is Rylan, and I like use that as the photo. And it wouldn't let me do anything. And the issue that I was running into was that I'm basically saying, okay, I want a photo of a girl and she's dropping binoculars. And so this doesn't have enough context. What is enough context is I say, okay, for extra context, this is a scene of a girl who is on a hike in the woods, exploring and doing bird watching. She should be wearing a backpack and hiking appropriate clothing. The age range of this girl should be between 7 to 9 years old. And then I'm talking about what I want this scene to look like. What I think is happening here, because you can pretty much put anything in Midjourney and you'll get very little issues. I think because the image model is so new, it's very, very conservative. So if you say, hey, I want a photo of a girl dropping binoculars and looking shocked, it's like a little too vague. They can't quite tell, is this something I'm allowed to do or not allowed to do? But if I say, hey, this is a totally normal situation. A girl's on a hike with with her family. She's doing bird watching. This is what she's wearing. Then it's thinking, oh, okay, I can imagine the situation and say this is appropriate. And so I think it's really just trying to be very safe so it doesn't get headlines of it generating images that are inappropriate or unethical or whatever it might be. So just give enough context. If you ask it, if it flags an image and says it can't do it, you can try asking, can you give me some tips on how I could, generate this image? And sometimes it'll do it. So this is basically what I did in that first week. These were some early revisions before I realized how to integrate humans into the prompts with context. So an applications graphic is something that I talked a lot about in the CVR optimization workflow. This is an example of some product packaging that we made. This is a version of the main image that we made. These are some product anatomy graphics. And yeah, these are just some different things that we made. So that is not that exciting. I'm going to get into the more exciting stuff. Let's jump into it. So first and foremost is main images. If you've seen me, and not just me, but many other speakers, we've all said that probably the easiest, least effort way that you can get some improvement in your core metrics is trying to improve your click-through rate from testing new main images. And what I'll say is right out of the box, ChatGPT 4.0 can absolutely create you winning main images, any conceivable possible variation of a main image, it can do pretty much right away. So I started with something simple. This is the reference image that I gave it, just the product on a white background. And this is not that exciting. Like, of course, it can replicate a white background image. What I've seen though, many examples, and I didn't test it myself, but if I get the product and I take a photo with my phone, it's gonna do just fine. Like, you don't need a white background, you don't need to get creative or have a fancy camera. I cannot express how good it is at just modeling out a version of the product. But let's get a little bit more complicated. And okay, it can do product on a white background, but can it do product plus parts? And so here we've got the binocular, magnifying glass, compass, and we've got the carrying case. So yeah, no issue there. It's able to knock it out. The logo isn't exactly perfect, but it's pretty darn good. And then I said, oh, we forgot the microfiber cloth. It's able to add that in without any issue. I'm asking, can you scale the image up to 2000 by 2500 pixels, which it does. It doesn't really fill all of the white space, but this was a first revision. Again, you can see the logo isn't perfect, so designers are still going to be used, um, but they have a lot less work to do here. Then I say, let's try to do product plus parts plus packaging. I put one of the hero keywords on the front of the box, kids binoculars. And again, logo's not perfect, but if I'm a designer, I already have, 4 or 5 different variations that I can use. This is what I asked our team to go into ChatGPT. Theirs look even better than mine. I don't know what they used for their prompts, but a much better orientation in how all of these different parts are organized. They really did up this bird watching book that's supposed to be included. We had all of this in our initial case study, but I mean, our book never looked this good. And this is the kind of thing that, like, right off the bat, our box, I mean, I can tell you that our box didn't look this good. But when I'm going to the designer and I'm saying, I want you to do as much as possible in 1 week, which is 40 hours, and then they don't finish it all, then they say, okay, well, can we have another 20 hours? And I'm like, sure, let's see what we can do. Imagine what a talented designer, not me, who doesn't know anything, and you're going to see my artwork a little bit later. Imagine what a real designer can do with this stuff. That's what I think the potential is. So you've seen this before. If you've looked at the data dive workflows, this is our main image matrix. You basically have the product on a white background, and you've already seen some versions of these main images. So product plus parts, product plus packaging, and we didn't do any lifestyle decal or variations, but within 30 minutes, you could go and create every conceivable configuration on this main image matrix, run it through market research, whether you want to use Product Pinion, PickFu, IntelliV, whatever you want to use, test it there, upload it to MYE, and instead of spending weeks to try to accomplish this, um, we're talking like a few hours, and you can have testable assets that you can start putting up on Amazon with very little cost, and just have your designers make some tweaks. And yeah, I mean, there's really no excuse, at least for main images. But you're thinking, okay, it can do white background, it can do main images. What about something more complex? Can it handle secondary images? So let's take a look. Again, when I started out in the first week that I was using this, I couldn't figure out how to get humans inside. So that's why you see this is our original that our team did during that 60-hour case study. And you can see it did a pretty good job of making the image, but I wasn't able to have a human in the image. But eventually I learned that you gotta add some context into the image. And this is just another one. I'm gonna show you some better examples, but I just wanted to show for transparency when I started, no humans. So this is our durability graphic, girl dropping the binoculars, them falling in water. It gives me a cartoon version first, and then I say, okay, let's make it more photorealistic. It gets a little bit better, and we're moving in a good direction. But it's still, it's not perfect, right? We want humans inside inside the image. So now I get this advice from my creative team to add in some context. And what I also start doing is I just get a sheet of paper, and then this is my artistic ability on the left-hand side. I just literally draw out what I want to see. So I'm like, survives every adventure, and then I'm describing what my poorly drawn images are supposed to be. So I'm like, this is a girl looking shocked, dropping her binoculars, wearing the outfit, going on a hike, whatever. And then we've got binoculars falling in water, waterproof. So like this image doesn't look good, but ChatGPT is able to understand what I have here plus a little bit of text, and then it makes me this version, which is like, okay, cool. I like the cartoon because I can check that all of the elements are here. Girl, shock face, binoculars falling, it's a little force, you know. Binoculars, water, we've got the titles. Okay, good. Now let's make it photorealistic. So bam, we get the girl, she's got the binoculars, she's dropping them. We see all of the elements, and then I say, okay, let's see, can we try it with a boy now? Okay, this is looking pretty good. But I'd say the binoculars are a little bit high here. What if we'd have them a little bit lower? And then we get this gold after 3 revisions. ChatGPT has now thought for a total of, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. And this is looking pretty good in my mind, honestly. Honestly, it's looking really good. And my benchmark isn't just trying to compare the image that I created against what our team did as part of the 60-hour case study, because I think both of these are very good. I'm not trying to go to our designers and be like, you guys don't have a job. This is over. We're going to do everything ourselves. What I'm trying to do is benchmark out of all of the competitors that had a graphic on durability, could at least one of these beat them? And the answer is like, this is the best competitor graphic on durability. I think either of these is better. And I'm going to show you, we're going to keep going through some examples here, but you can let us know down in the comments below, which do you think is the best? I'm not here to try to say, oh, this is better than this. I think this is an amazing graphic, and you're going to see some examples where our team did better. I'm very pro agency, very pro designer, but I'm also very pro AI. So let's keep running into this. This, you saw an earlier version of the applications graphic. This one I feel is a lot better. Basically, I'm just saying, I've got the title here. This is another sketch that I did. I wanted a tent with a roaring fireplace, a girl in the stands watching some football players, a mom driving a car, two kids in the back, looking with their binoculars out at the distance, and a parent with the kid looking at the binocular, looking out at a great view. So it takes this, it makes me a cartoon version. I check the elements all look good, and then it starts rendering me some different versions. The goal of this graphic from a conversion standpoint is you're buying this product, you're going on a road trip, you see this and you say, this product is perfect for me, right? So this is starting to look good, but I say text is a little wonky. Let's clean it up. So now it cleans up the text. And it's not perfect in this first, it's the 5th revision, but, kids are looking at each other. The girl's kind of looking away from the field. But by the time this one, it doesn't have the mom in here. This one's okay. This is where a designer is going to come in. My recommendation is once you start getting over like 5 revisions, it's probably just faster for a designer to come in and say, okay, I really like this module, but I also really like this one. And you're just going to kind of move these around. I think also these multiple quadrant images might be a little bit too much for it to handle. It might be better to just render these as individual images and then try to put them together separately. Okay, so you've seen a little bit of this already. This is one of my favorite graphics that the team put together. It was a graphic supposed to be about magnification and give a POV shot of looking through the binoculars. And so this is the original that our team put out as part of the 60-hour case study. And then this is the first version that I got when I first started rendering. You can see that the subtitle is duplicated. This is the part of the long thread where it starts to get a little messed up with the hanging finger. But then I go back, I sketch it out, and now I'm starting to get better results. So I've got the title here, and this drawing that I did was a little different because this is the cool thing about AI. I kind of thought, what if instead of showing a bird in both lenses, what if we would do like a bird on one half and then a football player in a sports environment on the other half? And so that's why this looks different than this. But what I'm describing here is we've got the binoculars. This says hand, and then I've got a bird, and then I've got a sports player. So I think that's why this first one gets a little messed up. But you can see it makes a little more sense when I go down and clean it up. And just for reference, right, this is the best competitor image of that POV shot magnification. And so you can see this is a little different from this. So I wanted to go back and then compare it to, okay, let's actually try to have this look exactly like this. And you can see, okay, now it's a bird on both sides in the forest. And then this is more of a fall themed one. So again, I don't necessarily know, is this better than this? Is this better than this? I think they're very, very close. But if I'm going to compare either of those to this one, like it's not even close, right? It's not even in the same ballpark. And I'm going to show you the data and how you can kind of figure out which images are important to create in a little bit when we get to the IntelliV Drab and some of the data dive results. But this, again, I want to really emphasize this. This is where things are going to change for designers and for agencies, is that when I created the creative brief for the Kids Binoculars product, I had probably 25 different image types that I wanted. And we can't go and create 25 different image types. I think we created 10 or 12 secondary images. So I didn't have this idea initially to do half sports, half bird watching. I was just creating the image and I said that would be an interesting concept to try. And so this is the difference of like, you have a creative idea at the moment, and I don't know if this is better or worse. Maybe it's too complex. This one's getting abstract. Maybe you want to understand that these are supposed to be binoculars lenses. But the point is, if something is only taking me 5 minutes to generate this version 3A, I can spend an hour running off in a few different tangents. And if I never use any of this, or we're testing it as an ad creative, or we're just throwing it somewhere into the gallery and it might be used sometime, I'm not really spending a lot of resources to get something that ultimately looks really good. So we're going to wrap up. I just have a few more examples to show. I wanted to include this one because, and I don't have the original image here, but you can see it in the previous presentations that I've done. I wanted to show this one because it's a more abstract graphic. And I don't think it's the best graphic about the product, because what it's supposed to be doing is it's a STEM graphic. It's supposed to indicate that you buy these binoculars for your kids, then your kid is going to go outside, she's going to see the bird, and that's going to inspire her to go and paint the bird. I know the image is not good, but that's what I'm describing to Chat GPT. And then it says, inspire, imagine, create, discover the world through our lens. So we've got the girl looking through the binoculars, she sees the bird, and she starts to draw the bird. And then now I say, okay, this is a little bit too high. I want to see her eyes. It's not perfect. It's not like pointing to the binoculars, but it kind of makes sense. The bird looks a little better. And then our team starts to do similar versions with drawing all of this out. And yeah, we tried a lot with gifting graphics. Gifting graphics are really popular. These are the best examples of gifting graphics in the niche. I was not able to get, regardless of as much context as I gave, I could not get a family in their pajamas opening up gifts on Christmas. It just wouldn't do it. So this is the best that I got. And then our team, after I tried 10 revisions and I couldn't get it, I was like, I just gave up and I said, ask the team if they could do it. Apparently they weren't able to get families either. So if anyone can figure out how to crack the code on gifting graphics, then let us know. So they did something for the holidays, for Easter, for Halloween. So, I mean, I can't tell if these are better. Maybe it's better than like this one. This is a little strange, but I would rather see humans in this. Again, a designer could take any of these and combine it in Midjourney. I'm sure it's all possible. So these are examples of some product anatomy graphics. I'm just going to scroll through these pretty quick. Product anatomy for ease of use. These are child-specific graphics. I hope at this point you've seen enough examples of images that they can at least, it's at minimum, this is good enough for creating images that are better than some of the top competitors, potentially better than your own designers. And if you have real designers using this, editing them, then pretty much unbeatable images in my mind. What I want to get into though is a little bit of the data. So when we did this kids binocular case study, we did an IntelliV drab test. So that's they call it the purchase barrier poll, and it's the dominant reasons to avoid buying a product. Basically, the common objections that people would have before they buy the product. So when we ran the IntelliV drab test on this product, the number one objection was durability. Okay. The number two objection was child safety. And the number three objection was, is this going to be easy to use for kids? Is it specifically made for kids? When we looked inside Data Dive, we have the AI product brief. I'm going to admit it's not as good as the IntelliV drab test, but it's also free. So it'll probably get you like 75, maybe 80% of the same answers. But you can see this is for attributes included in the listing. You're going to see at the top in terms of frequency, ease of use, child safety, and durability. You're going to see it in what customers like, ease of use, child safety, durability, what customers dislike, etc. So the whole point of all of this is, okay, if we can identify that most likely, the top three products that a shopper is likely to have when purchasing these kids' binoculars, we want to reinforce those in our secondary images or in our A+ content, right? Because if I get to the listing and I'm curious, is this thing going to break if I give it to my kid? Is this safe for my kid? And then is this going to be easy for my kid to use? And at what age range? If I see graphics in my image gallery or in the image gallery or on the PDP of the product that I'm looking at, and I've got like durability, then child safety, then ease of use, is my conversion likely going to be higher or lower than someone who doesn't address this at all? Okay, it's not rocket science. We cover this in our CVR workflow. That's how you improve conversion rate. So then you got to start looking in the niche. We had a dive that had 28 competitors in the niche. And so how many of the 28 competitors in this niche for kids binoculars had a graphic that specifically addressed durability? The answer is 6. 6 out of the 28 had a graphic that specifically addressed durability. And some are better than others. Like I think this one looks pretty good, and this might look kind of similar to ours. But then you start asking, if you try to remember back to the durability graphic that we showed you a while ago, like this is how they're representing shockproof, like a cord that's being taken apart. That shockproof, that's like, I don't know, maybe that's an American way of looking at it, but that's not logical. Shockproof means you drop something on the ground and it's not going to break. But they're showing it like with a cord and a spark cord. This one's not bad. It's like shockproof, anti-slip. Some of these you're going to have to test yourself. Very low information density versus very high information density. And I'm not trying to say that the graphic that we created, even though we did do some testing, that it tends to beat these, at least the one we did in the 60-hour project. I'm not saying that ours is definitely better. What I'm trying to say to you is like, you need a graphic on durability. So if I want to go and create very low information density, very high information density, different styles, I can create 5 different configurations in the time that it took me to create one image that addressed durability. So I can also move on to the graphic about specifically ease of use for children. And a lot of people had very general graphics. So they'd say binoculars for kids, perfect for curious boys and girls. You get the point. But what elements specifically of this binoculars make it perfect for kids? Is it that it has a really easy to use toggle, or this one has no toggle at all? It's just what they call a monocular. Is it that it has a carrying strap on the neck so that you don't have, if your kids get tired from carrying it, the parent isn't forced to carry it, right? Is it a non-slip grip? Is it the small size? And so ask yourself, could you create something that is potentially better than this, or at least at the same level as the other competitors in your niche? And then this is about child safety. And so some people actually do a very good job with this. They're talking about that it's soft eye cups. It's not going to hurt their eye. And then we've got some product anatomy graphics, which we've shown here. And so again, what you have to ask yourself is, could you go and create a better version of this, a less information dense version of this, a more information dense version of this? The point is, you could go and create many different variations that are anywhere along this spectrum to specifically address this feature. But yeah, this is the last little note that I want to make on here, because I know we've been going for 25 minutes. And this is a helpful tip. And I think an area where we'll want to make another video in the future is a quick shout out to AMZ Design Kit. So when I was at PickFu, I had collaborated a few times with this guy, George, and he ran at that time a group called AMZ Creatives, a Facebook group. And I probably mentioned him in other Orange Click videos in the past because it was really good for getting creative inspiration, because they just compiled really good main images, secondary images, A+ content, infographics, whatever, into their Facebook page. Last week, I got on a call with him, and he was walking me through this new project that he's working on called AMZ Design Kit. And it's basically a library of 30,000 plus image examples. And why is this so relevant to this presentation? Well, you saw my little drawings that I did on the sheet of paper. Those are reference images. Photos of your logo, photos of your product, competitor photos. Those are all reference images. Chat GPT-4 responds extremely well when given reference images. And what George and I both agree on is that oftentimes the best inspiration is not going to be right inside of your niche. Like you could see in the niche for kids binoculars, people didn't have great images on durability, on child safety. But if I expand out and look at toys in general, I'm going to see some really good examples of graphics that I'm looking for. And so what AMZ Design Kit allows you to do is search through these 30,000 images. You can see I typed in toys here and they had 3,417 different infographics, and it's super cheap. It's like literally 15 pounds a month, so less than 20 USD. You get 30,000 image examples. They also, and this is what I'm saying we need to make in another video, is getting into, they have Canva templates, but then what they're also doing now is making Figma templates. So a lot of people think of Figma just for web design, but he's basically shown me a workflow where you're able to update entire catalogs of products, like hundreds and hundreds of ASINs, by starting with a Figma template, a little bit of code, and say, hey, I want to swap out this element on all of these images, or I want to change the color. Really good for handling variations, large portfolios of products. So I can't recommend this enough. I signed up myself, and these are just some of the images that I saw for toys. And so if you're looking at this and you're like, well, I don't sell a kid's phone, it doesn't matter. You're like, you like this style of the image, and then you show them your kid's binoculars and say, hey, I want you to match this style, or I want you to match this style of A+ content, whatever it might be. So that's pretty much it. Go and check it out. And that's pretty much where I'll wrap up the video.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anthony. It was very interesting to follow along all the examples, and I think it's so great that you included like those different versions of you using ChatGPT to show like the realistic way of working with it. So it's not always, that you make a prompt and then the most perfect image will come out straight away. It sometimes do take some times and some revisions and stuff. So it was very interesting to see how it was kind of changing. And I think what a wonderful idea also to draw those ideas down on a paper and then ask ChatGPT to create the images. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Was very cool. So before we head off for today, could you summarize once more what is Data Dive doing and how do you help Amazon sales? Maybe what are some of the main features your software has? You did show a few things which help to craft the listing and kind of analyze a bit the images part, but what else is there?
I mean, it's all focused on organic rank. So you want to get your organic rank as high as possible. There's going to be 4 things that impact that: your SEO, your CTR, your CVR, and your revenue. And so Data Dive is going to show you what your organic rank is. And then through our workflows, you're going to hopefully try to improve those other metrics. And if you improve those other metrics, your organic rank is going to go up. Specifically in this presentation, it was like we really only showed our AI product brief. And then the images that I pulled were from Deep Dive. So that shows you all of your competitor image galleries all in one spot. So like if you want to improve your CTR and CVR optimization, you look in the AI product brief, you see what people want. You look in your competitor gallery and you see what are people doing. And then now this is all brand new. You can use AI to make all of those different versions and then come up with new versions for your main and secondary images.
And that sounds super great. I think all of the users are, at least the sellers I have been talking to, are very satisfied with the tool. And if you're new to Data Dive and are not yet a user, we're going to have a link to it in the video description below. So click on it, go check it out. And also, as we mentioned before, we have recorded videos about different workflows as well as different Data Dive features. So you can come back to our channel to learn how to take or make the best out of each feature. So thanks again, Anthony, for joining me. And I know I'm going to see you soon again on our channel.
Thanks so much, Lisette. See you later.
I hope this video will help you to create a better Amazon product images using ChatGPT. And if you're interested to try Data Dive for yourself, sign up using the link below and use the exclusive code OrangeClick to get 20% off the first 6 months. And if you enjoy the content we create, don't forget to hit like and subscribe buttons. And if you have additional comments and questions about the content you just watched, leave them in the comment section below. And now I recommend you to watch another video where you will learn how to increase your click-through rate, CTR, by following a complete Data Dive's workflow. So check this out.